Sonic 2 fits easily into any tackle box.
CD Interactive.
The Sega Genesis has blast processing.
Recently, we compared two superheroes, dashing super guy and Kirby from Nintendo. In some ways, Kirby lost big. No big hair, no big muscles, no weapons, nothing. All Kirby's got is appetite.
In 1992, the world was introduced to Kirby, the creation of Masahiro Sakurai and his fellow employees over at HAL Laboratories. This powerful puffball introduced gamers to unique platforming gameplay, floating around the levels while sucking up and spitting out enemies in his way. With its natural simplicity and optional hard mode, the game provided hours of fun to all manner of players, and unsurprisingly became a global phenomenon. Thus began Kirby's legacy, and the rest is history. Over the years, the franchise has produced all manner of sequels and spin-offs. One such spin-off being 2003's Kirby Air Ride, a racing game for GameCube that finds Kirby hopping aboard a variety of air ride machines and competing for the top spot. Like many Kirby fans around this time, I completely skipped out on this title. I was about 5 years old when it released, and I was much too preoccupied playing Mario 3 on my GBA and getting lost in supermarkets, but I digress. One particularly unique mode found within Kirby Air Ride is City Trial, a mode where you explore a vast city, competing with others to seek out power-ups to enhance the capabilities of your machine. At the end of each round, you get to play one of many bonus games that pits both your skills and ride against your opponents. It was a really interesting idea that unfortunately seemed to share the fate of the game that housed it. Years passed. New consoles came and went, and yet Kirby Air Ride stayed on the GameCube, never fortunate enough to receive a remake or a remaster, or even a port. Ironic that City Trial, a mode so content to think outside the box, appeared to be confined to one for the rest of eternity. Or so it seemed. In 2014, Super Smash Bros. Made its debut on the then-recent Wii U and 3DS systems. With Smash being one of my favorite franchises, these were games that I definitely wasn't going to skip out on. With only vague memories of the lead-up to Brawl, this was the first Smash that I distinctly remember the pre-release hype for. I followed all the leaks and rumors, and watched the Smash Bros. Invitational live as it happened. Never before had I experienced such unprecedented levels of excitement for the release of a game. It was absolutely magical. Even more so was the fact that there were two versions of the game, and one of those versions could fit on a device that could call your pocket home. While this generation of the series is collectively known as Smash 4, make no mistake, these are two distinct entries. The core gameplay is of course identical between the two, but each game has its own unique stage list, and more importantly, its own unique modes. The Wii U version got Master and Crazy Orders, as well as Smash Tour. The 3DS, meanwhile, only got a single unique mode to its name. "11 years. That's how long it took. More than a decade after it appeared, City Trial made its triumphant return. But this was more than just a comeback. This was an evolution. This was Smash Run. Just like its predecessor, Smash Run has you traversing a map to obtain stat boosts. Speed, jump, attack, special, arms, and defense. Once time runs out, you'll be using those boosts against your opponents in a final challenge. And for the most part, that's where the similarities to City Trial end. The stats you pick up directly enhance your character instead of going to a vehicle, and it's amazing how much of a difference one seemingly small change can make. Without a vehicle acting as a middleman between you and your enhancements, you can really feel the power building. It makes the progression from mere mortal to unstoppable god all the more satisfying, especially since you're gonna have to work for those power-ups. After all, this game is called Smash Bros. For a reason. While stat boosts can still be found peppered throughout the overworld, as well as in containers, the vast majority is in the hands of an army of baddies that hail from the various franchises represented in Smash. From expected picks like Goombas and Koopas, to more obscure foes like Sneaky Spirits and Bakura, there's an incredible variety of enemies here. And that variety isn't just aesthetic either. The Smash team went above and beyond when it comes to honoring the source material for these characters. Pretty much all the enemies have some kind of unique quirk that you need to take into account when fighting them. Goombas take massive damage when stomped. Mets can't be hit while hiding under their helmets. Ghastly are immune to physical attacks. Mites are annoying. And if you just so happen to come across an Orn, run. I think my favorite detail is that hitting Chandelure with fire increases the power of its fire attacks. A nod to one of its special abilities, Flash Fire, which does the same thing in the Pokemon games. What I just mentioned is just a taste of what you'll have to face while exploring the sprawling pseudo-random map. And I haven't even mentioned these red doors. Entering these will take you to one of many minigames, testing your mettle in exchange for a heaping helping of stat boosts and other rewards. You've got some pretty standard challenges like defeat all the enemies and survive, but you also have some more interesting ones like Crystal Smash and Break the Targets. Each challenge also has 3 levels of difficulty, ranging from this is too easy to why is this so hard? Don't worry if you feel overwhelmed though. Before you even set out on your journey, you can get some help. Powers are equipable items that will aid you as you venture forth. Some do damage, some heal you, others give you an item or warp you somewhere else. There's quite a variety to choose from. Especially early on, these items can give you a much needed upper hand, and they're particularly useful for taking down bigger enemies like Clover Skull. As if all this wasn't enough, you also have events that will occur randomly during your run, which can vary from enemy bounties or a treasure room opening, to being shrunk or warped away, and everything culminates into one final challenge, a grand finale that pits your strength against the other players. It seems like the Smash team really wanted people to experience all that the game has to offer. Pretty much every mode imaginable is represented in this final trial. There's 14 standard Smash modes, with each mode either being a free-for-all or a team battle, with the exception of Multi-Man Smash, for a total of 27 possibilities. In addition to this, there's 3 special modes, Run, Jump, and Versus Enemy Team. With 30 possibilities in all, you never really know what you're gonna get. This gameplay loop of scrambling to explore all corners of the map, going from meager might to mighty menace, absolutely shredding through enemies and taking on every challenge thrown your way, all while listening to a curated playlist of all your favorite Smash tunes. It's simply superb. It's like playing an arcade game. You want to play again and again, seeing how far those numbers can go, how well you can optimize your gameplay. Admittedly, how far you can push your stats is partially up to luck, as enemies, door spawns, events and the like are randomized each time you play. However, if you've ever played a roguelite, you'll know that said randomness is an essential part of what makes the game fresh, exciting, and endlessly replayable. There's always a healthy dose of anticipation bubbling in my chest when I start a new run, and wonder how Lady Luck will deal her cards. This sentiment of replayability is bolstered by the huge variety of loadouts that are possible with both customs and powers. Maybe you'd like to push the limits of attack by configuring your set to be an all-out offensive Little Mac. Or perhaps you'd want to break the boundaries of speed by equipping a max agility set on Sonic. There's so many ways to mess around with your stats, moves, and powers that at times the possibilities feel endless, and it brings me great joy to experiment with this treasure trove of tools and create new sets. Frankly, Smash Run is really addicting. It doesn't take long for that one more run mentality to settle in, not only because of the aforementioned aspects of luck and variety, but also because of the absolutely phenomenal sound design. The sound collectibles make when you pick them up, mixed with the smacking noises of pummeled enemies, creates a symphony of satisfying dissonances. A have so many fond memories of my friends and I playing Smash Run on the bus to and from school, as well as during lunch. I still recall the subtle anticipation that built in my chest when a run ended, and I got to see how my stats stacked up against everyone else's. And a smile forms across my face as recollections of characters losing all their stamina in a single hit pass through my mind. One of my favorite Smash Run moments has to be when I crashed my game during the final battle. I was playing Max Attack Crit Little Mac during Multi-Man Smash. I got KO Punch and managed to get all the CPUs in one hit, and I guess it was too much for the game to handle, because it froze and I had to restart my 3DS. Honestly, I don't really have that many criticisms when it comes to Smash Run. It's just a really fun, awesome mode that utilizes the core gameplay of Smash in a new and exciting way. If I had to criticize it for something, I guess I would say that the fact that you never directly interact with your opponents feels like a bit of a missed opportunity. In multiplayer, everyone gets their own map, and every now and then you can find a switch that sends a giant bomb to one of your friends, which doesn't really pose much of a threat considering it's pretty easy to just tick against a wall and avoid dying in a lot of areas. The map itself is also so massive that I never have the time to explore it all, so I don't think having multiple players per map would make it feel crowded. To me, it seems like this might be another instance of 3DS hardware limitations influencing game direction, but that's just speculation on my part. All in all, Smash Run, in my opinion, is one of the best modes in Smash history, and it's certainly a mode worth remembering. It makes me pretty sad that it didn't come back in Smash Ultimate. To be honest, if the devs decided to bring back Smash Run instead of give us World of Light, I think I would have been okay with that. In my opinion, World of Light is kind of just a glorified spirit board, with some admittedly pretty cool cutscenes and set pieces, but that's a discussion for another time. Like I said in my previous video, a lot of people probably don't look back on Smash 4 very fondly. I myself have a bunch of criticisms. The menus were pretty bad. Unlocking customs could be infuriating. Most of the side modes weren't that interesting. However, despite these shortcomings, I think if there's something you can't fault this game for, it's lack of effort. Smash 4 really tried to shake things up with a bunch of new modes and features. A lot of the time, what it tried didn't really stick, but when it did, it's some of the most fun I've ever had with this franchise. But what do you guys think? Did you enjoy Smash Run as much as I did? Is there anything you would change about it if it returned in a future entry? Would you rather have one player per map, or multiple players share a map? Any and all thoughts I'd love to hear in the comment section below. The fate of this mode is currently up in the air. Will it ever return? Who knows? It might not. Maybe it'll come back after Ultimate. Or maybe it will suffer a fate worse than its GameCube predecessor, doomed to exist solely on a relic of the past, with no one to continue its legacy. Only time will tell. But until then, every once in a while, I'm gonna go for a run. This has been the GioDude. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.